If your home sat on the market for months, receiving no showings, maybe even had a few interested buyers, and then ultimately expired without selling, I want you to hear this before anything else. Your home is probably not the problem, and despite what some people may have told you, the market probably isn't the problem either. What usually failed was the strategy. Now, I know that's difficult to hear because when a listing expires, it feels personal. You have invested time, money, and energy into your property. You have cleaned it for showings. You have left your home for open houses. You have listened to your agent. You have waited patiently. And then one day, the listing expires. No sale, no move, no next chapter, just frustration. The reason I wanted to make this video is because I see this happen all the time throughout King County and Snohomish County. Beautiful homes expired, luxury homes expired, waterfront homes expired, cost of building homes expired, and almost every time the seller assumes buyers rejected the property. But that's really what happened. Most buyers never rejected the home. They rejected the way the home was positioned, the way it was priced, the way it was presented, or the way it was marketed. And the good news is that those things can be fixed. Today, I'm going to walk you through the biggest reasons luxury listings expire in King County and what I will do differently before putting that home back on the market. And make sure you stay all the way through because I'm also going to share exactly what I will do during the first 30 days after a listing expires to maximize your chances of success the second time around. Before we get started, comment expired below if your home came off the market unsold. I'd love to know how long it was listed and what kind of feedback you received. First, let's talk about the problem. One of the hardest things about an expired listing is not knowing what actually happened. When sellers call me after their home expires, they're usually looking for answers. And the first thing they tell me is this: nobody can tell me why it didn't sell. They have heard dozens of opinions. A friend says the market is slow. A neighbor says interest rates scared buyers away. Another agent says the price was too high. A family member says people just aren't buying luxury homes right now. And suddenly, the seller is surrounded by opinions but still has no clarity. Here's what I've learned after years of helping buyers and sellers. The market always leaves clues. Always. The challenge is that most sellers don't know how to read them. Think about the luxury buyer for a moment. Luxury buyers don't shop the same way entry-level buyers shop. They aren't rushing to buy the first available property. They have choices. They have resources. They have patience. And most importantly, they have access to information. Before they ever schedule a showing, they've already looked at dozens of listings. They've compared photos and they've reviewed neighborhoods. They have watched videos. They've looked at prices, history. They've evaluated competing properties. And they've already started forming opinions. That means your listing needs to win online before it ever has a chance to win in person. Because if buyers aren't excited enough to schedule the showing, they'll never experience all the things that makes your property special. And that's exactly where many luxury listings fail. Not because the house isn't beautiful, not because the location isn't desirable, but because buyers never get far enough into the process to discover those things. The first battle is attention. The second battle is interest. The third battle is desire. And if you lose the first battle, the other two never happen. That's why the first reason luxury listings expire is also the most important. Stay with me because reason number one is responsible for more expired listings than any other factor I see in King County. Reason number one, your price didn't create enough attention. Let's talk about pricing. And before you immediately think, my home wasn't overpriced, let me explain something that most sellers never hear. Pricing is not about what your home is worth. Pricing is about buyer behavior. Those are completely different things. When homeowners think about value, they usually focus on things like upgrades, renovations, improvements, and personal investment. Maybe you remodeled the kitchen. Maybe you added a luxury outdoor living area. Maybe you replaced the roof. Maybe you've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years. And all of those things matter. But buyers don't calculate value the same way sellers do. Buyers compare choices. Let's imagine your luxury home is listed for $2 million. The buyer looking at your property isn't only comparing it to homes in your neighborhood, they're comparing it to homes throughout King County. They're comparing it in Bellevue, Kirkland, Woodinville, Snohomish, Mercer Island, Redmond, Bothell, and even luxury property in Snohomish County. They're asking themselves one question: where do I get the most value for my money? That's it. Now here's where things become dangerous. Many sellers believe pricing slightly above market value gives them room to negotiate, but luxury buyers rarely negotiate first. They eliminate first. If a buyer feels your property is overpriced compared to competing options, they usually don't call the agent and say, let's make a lower offer. Instead, they move on. They click the next listing. They schedule a different showing. They save another property, and the seller never knows it happened. This is why overpricing can be so costly, not because it prevents offers, because it prevents attention. And attention is the single most valuable asset during the first few weeks of your listing. The first 2 weeks on the market are often when your most motivated buyers are paying attention. The property is fresh. Agents are noticing it. Buyers are curious. Everyone wants to see what's new. But if the pricing causes buyers to skip over the property, that momentum disappears. And momentum is incredibly difficult to recreate later. I often tell sellers that every listing starts with a full bank account of attention. Every week without activity makes a withdrawal. Every week without showings make another withdrawal. Every week without offers make another withdrawal. Eventually, that account runs dry. Then the seller reduces the price. And by that point, the property has already lost momentum. The buyers who were excited to have moved on. The agents who were watching have moved on. The opportunity has passed. That's why strategic pricing isn't about maximizing your asking price. It's about maximizing attention. Because attention creates showings. Showing creates competition. Competition creates leverage. And leverage creates stronger offers. Ironically, some of the highest Sale prices I've negotiated came from listings that were positioned correctly from day one, not from listings that started high and chased the market down. The goal is not to test the market, the goal is to attract the market. And those are two very different strategies. Comment price below if you've ever wondered whether your pricing strategy played a role in why your home didn't sell. Reason number 2, your home looked expensive, not exceptional. The second reason luxury listings expire is presentation. And this is one of the most overlooked issues in luxury real estate, because sellers often assume that if the home itself is beautiful, buyers will automatically recognize its value. Unfortunately, that's not how buyers think. Luxury buyers make decisions emotionally because they justify them logically. Think about the last luxury purchase you made. Maybe it was a vehicle, a watch, a vacation, a piece of jewelry, or even a home. You probably didn't make the decision based solely on features. You made the decision because of how it made you feel. Luxury brands understand this. Rolex doesn't sell watches. Mercedes doesn't sell transportation. Louis Vuitton doesn't sell handbags. They sell identity. They sell status. They sell a feeling. Luxury real estate works exactly the same way. Yet many luxury listings are marketed like average homes. The listing descriptions read like a home inspection report. 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 3-car garage, quartz countertops, hardwood floors, covered patio. Those are features, but features don't create desire. Stories create desires. Lifestyle creates desire. Emotion creates desire. Let me give you an example. Which sounds more compelling? Covered outdoor patio with fireplace, or a private outdoor retreat designed for year-round entertaining, where family gatherings and summer evenings become unforgettable experiences? Same feature, completely different emotion. Luxury buyers are not buying square footage. They're buying a vision of the future life. They are imagining holiday dinners. They're imagining entertaining guests. They're imagining their children growing up there. They're imagining waking up every morning in that environment. And if your presentation doesn't help them visualize that lifestyle, you are forcing them to do all the work themselves. Most won't. They'll simply move on to another property that creates that emotional connection faster. Now let's talk about photography, because this is another area where luxury listings often underperform. The reality is that buyers decide whether they want to learn more about your home within seconds, sometimes less. The first photo matters enormously. If the first image doesn't immediately grab attention, many buyers never make it to photo number 2. I've seen luxury listings with incredible views where the first photo was the garage. I've seen waterfront properties where the water wasn't visible until photo 15. I've seen custom estate where the photography looked like it was taken on a cell phone. Presentation influences perception, and perception influences value. If a luxury property is presented like an average listing, buyers subconsciously assume it's worth less. That's why luxury marketing isn't just about showing a home. It's about elevating a home, creating curiosity, creating excitement, creating desire. Because when buyers become emotionally invested, they become much more likely to schedule a showing. And when they schedule a showing, your opportunity begins. Comment presentation below if you think luxury homes deserve a higher level of marketing than the average listing. Reason number 3, your marketing plan was too small. The third reason luxury homes expire is marketing. And honestly, this is where I see some of the biggest missed opportunities. One of the most common assumptions sellers make is that putting a property in the MLS means it's been marketed. It isn't. The MLS is simply where the listing lives. Marketing is everything you do to get buyers to discover it. Think about how luxury buyers shop today. They aren't waiting for a postcard in the mail. They aren't driving around neighborhoods looking for signs. They are online. They are watching YouTube. They're browsing Instagram. They're scrolling Facebook. They're searching Google. They're reading email newsletters. They are following luxury lifestyle content. And increasingly, they're relocating from other states. Many luxury buyers in King County are coming from California, Texas, Arizona, Colorado, New York, Florida, and even international markets. That means your marketing strategy needs to reach people who aren't already looking at your neighborhood. The right buyer may not live 5 minutes away. They may live 5 states away. Which is why luxury marketing requires a much broader approach. Professional video, social media advertising, YouTube content, digital retargeting, agent networking, email campaigns, search engine visibility, and strategic storytelling. Here's something I tell sellers all the time. Exposure and visibility are not the same thing. Just because your home is technically available doesn't mean buyers are seeing it. And just because buyers are seeing it doesn't mean they are paying attention to it. The goal is not simply to put the house in front of people. The goal is to put the house in front of the right people. Luxury buyers, relocating buyers, move-up buyers, investors, executives, people who can actually purchase the property. And that's where targeted marketing becomes so important, because when marketing is done correctly, it doesn't just generate views, it generates qualified interest. And qualified interest is what creates serious conversations. Serious conversation creates showings, and showings create opportunities. And one of the biggest mistakes I see with Expire listings is that the marketing strategy was far too narrow. The property was waiting to be discovered instead of actively being promoted. And in today's market, waiting is not a strategy. Comment marketing below if you would like me to create a video showing exactly how I market luxury listings throughout King County and Snohomish County. Reason number 4, buyers couldn't see the lifestyle. The next reason is closely connected to presentation, but it's important enough that it deserves its own section. Luxury buyers don't buy houses, they buy lifestyles. And there's a huge difference. When most sellers think about their home, they think about features. Bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, appliances, upgrades. But buyers think differently. They're asking questions like, how will my family live here? Could I entertain here? Will this improve my quality of life? Can I see myself coming home to this property every day? Luxury real estate is about aspiration. It's about creating a vision. And when a listing fails to communicate that vision, buyers struggle to connect emotionally. Think about a waterfront property. The value isn't just the water, it's the experience. The morning coffee overlooking the lake, the sunset views, the sense of peace, the lifestyle. Think about a luxury estate. The value isn't just the acreage, it's privacy, it's exclusivity, it's having space that most people don't have. Think about a house with a large outdoor living area. The value is in the patio, the value is in the gatherings, the celebrations, the memories. Luxury buyers purchase outcomes, not future. And that's why many listings struggle, because they're describing what the home has instead of what the home provides. One of my favorite questions to ask seller is, what did you love most about living here? And almost nobody answers with square footage. They tell stories. Stories about raising children, stories about holidays, stories about neighbors, stories about sunsets, stories about memories. Those stories reveal the lifestyle. And lifestyle is what buyers connect with. The more clearly buyers can picture their future life in the home, the more likely they are to take action. That's why luxury marketing should never be about listing features. It should be about creating emotional connection. Comment lifestyle below if you'd like me to create a future video showing how to market luxury homes around lifestyle instead of future. Reason number 5, you never relaunch the listing. The 5th and final reason luxury listing expire is something I see all the time. The home launch, a few weeks passed, then a month passed, then another month passed, and nothing changed. Same photos, same description, same marketing, same pricing strategy, same message. Meanwhile, the market was changing, buyer behavior was changing, competing inventory was changing, but the listing remained exactly the same, and that's the problem. Because successful luxury marketing is not static, it's dynamic. The best luxury listings are constantly being evaluated. What's working? What's not working? What feedback are buyers providing? What are agents saying? What listings are entering the market? What listings are selling? What listings are sitting? The market is constantly providing information. The question is whether anyone is paying attention. One of the biggest mistakes sellers make is confusing relisting with relaunching. Those are not the same thing. Relisting means taking the same property, using the same strategy, and hoping for a different outcome. Relaunching means creating a completely new opportunity. New story, new presentation, new photography, new marketing, new positioning, new energy. Think about major brands for a moment. When a marketing campaign isn't performing, they don't keep running the exact same campaign indefinitely. They adjust, they refine, they test new approaches. Real estate should work the same way. Let's say your home originally launched with a focus on square footage and features, but buyer feedback suggests people are responding more to privacy and outdoor living. That should influence the messaging. Let's say the original photos didn't showcase the best parts of the property. That should influence the presentation. Let's say the pricing positioned the property against the wrong competition. That should influence the strategy. The goal isn't to subordinately stick to the original plan. The goal is to create results. And sometimes that means changing direction. One of the reasons Expire listings create so much frustration is because sellers feel like they ran out of options. But in reality, many listings simply run out of strategy. And strategy can always be improved. Comment relaunch below if you'd like me to create an entire video explaining how to successfully relaunch an Expire luxury listing. Real case study. Same home, different strategy. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates what we have been discussing. I spoke with a seller whose home had been listed for several months. Beautiful property, excellent location, great condition, strong features, yet the listing expired. The seller was discouraged. They started questioning everything: the market, the house, the timing, even whether they should sell at all. When we sat down and reviewed the listing, we discovered several opportunities. First, the pricing wasn't aligned with how buyers were comparing competing properties. Second, the photography wasn't highlighting the home's strongest features. Third, the marketing wasn't reaching enough qualified buyers. And perhaps most importantly, the listing wasn't telling the right story. The home was being marketed through features, but buyers weren't connecting emotionally. So instead of simply relisting the property, we approached it differently. We treated it as a relaunch. We reassessed the presentation. We strengthened the marketing. We repositioned the messaging. We focused on lifestyle. We focused on emotional connection. We focused on buyer experience. And the response changed. More online engagement, more inquiries, more qualified showings, more conversations, and ultimately a successful sale. Now, every property is different. Every seller is different. Every market cycle is different. But the lesson remains the same. The home wasn't the problem. The strategy was. And once the strategy changed, the outcome changed. That's why I always tell sellers, an expired listing doesn't automatically mean buyers rejected your home. Sometimes they rejected the way it was presented to them. Comment case study below if you'd like me to share more real-world example of luxury listings that sold after initially failing. What will I do before relisting? So let's say your home expired yesterday. What will I do next? The first thing I will do is stop. I will not rush to put the property back on the market. Because if nothing changes, why should the outcome change? Instead, I will start with a complete listing audit. I will evaluate the pricing strategy. I will evaluate the photography. I will evaluate the video. I will evaluate the property description. I will evaluate the showing activity. I will evaluate the marketing. I will evaluate buyers' feedback, because somewhere in that information are clues. And those clues tell us exactly where to focus. The second thing I will do is reassess positioning. What makes the property unique? What lifestyle does it offer? What type of buyers should we be targeting? How can we tell a more compelling story? The third thing I will do is rebuild the marketing strategy. Not tweak it. Rebuild it. Fresh content, fresh messaging, fresh distribution, fresh audience. And finally, I will create a true relaunch plan, because a relaunch should feel like a new opportunity, not an old listing. The goal is to reintroduce the property to the market with renewed momentum and renewed attention. And when that happens, amazing things can occur. Comment recovery below if you like a checklist showing exactly what to review before putting your home back on the market. The biggest lesson: if you watch this entire video, here's one thing I want you to remember. An expired listing is not a verdict. It's feedback. That's it. The market isn't saying your home is unsellable. The market is providing information. Information about pricing, information about presentation, information about marketing, information about buyer behavior, and when we interpret that information correctly, we can make better decisions. I've seen homes that sat for months suddenly gain traction. I've seen sellers go from discouraged to relieved. I've seen listings that everyone assumed were difficult become success stories. Because strategy matters. And strategy can change. And that's why Expire doesn't mean finished. It simply means it's time for a different approach. If you found value in this video, make sure to subscribe because every week I share insights on luxury real estate in King County, luxury home marketing, pricing strategy, relocation trends, seller tips, and everything you need to make smarter real estate decisions. I am Marie-Noelle Mitier with M&M Luxury Real Estate. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, your listing expired, but your opportunity to sell has not. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.